welcome everybody to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hopson of PunchdrunkCritics.com, and of course, the Cinema Royale podcast is why you're here. And we are talking about the end of Oak Street, and joining me to talk about this one, no, it's not Chris Bumbray. I know usually when there's a white guy on here, it's Chris Bumbray from Joe Blow, but no, it is William Goodman, who's never been on the show before. He's a contributor to GQ, Men's Health, The Wrap, and I'm sure plenty of other places as well. What's going on, William?
As much as I would love to be William Goldman, famed screenwriter,
I said Goldman when I meant Goodman because I'm.
No, the amount of actually like Hollywood professionals that have also done that, you're amongst a storied crew. So listen, I am more than happy to be credited as the screenwriter of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and The Princess Bride. Like, you can actually just please continue to refer to me that way. But no, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
If you heard how many times I've been called Travis Hopkins, so apparently they think there's a K in my name. But no, it's good to talk to you, have you on the show for the first time, man. Welcome. So let's talk about the end of Oak Street. Now, I don't know about you, but, I didn't know what to expect going into this at all. It's kind of hard to gauge these things, especially when J.J. Abrams is attached, because you assume mystery box bullshit, like every time, like, how is this like an undercover Cloverfield, like every time you walk into like anything with Abrams' name on it.
Sure.
And, I know, just, for spoiler things, I won't confirm or deny any of that, whether that's true or not. Because who knows, maybe it is. And there's probably some eagle-eyed person out there who's writing a think piece about how it's connected to Cloverfield right now. So who knows, maybe it is. But it's directed by David Robert Mitchell, and who did It Follows and what was that other one he did with Andrew Garfield?
Under the Silver Lake, which I feel like I'm maybe the only person who I mean, I know people have seen it, but that was, I think, I would not say that was a commercial success.
Yeah, it was less critically acclaimed than It Follows, for sure. But the thing is, though, I can see some of like some of the eccentric aspects of that movie in this a little bit. Like, this one feels more like that than It Follows. Like, if you watched them both, like, you would say the guy who did Under Silver Lake, okay, I can see how he could have made the end of Oak Street. And this one is basically, in just the basic terms of it, it's about a suburban neighborhood, 1982, who find that their entire neighborhood has been transplanted into the past prehistoric era where they are attacked by dinosaurs and all sorts of other creatures. That is the basic gist of the plot, and I ain't going to go any deeper into it because you don't really need to. And that's one of the things I like about it, is that it's actually, mostly a fight for survival between this family that's going through its own individual crap going on as they deal with that while trying to survive. It's not overly complicated the way I thought it was going to be, at least not until about the last 10 minutes or so, which I think Mitchell kind of introduces some stuff that doesn't really need to be there. But overall, I really had a good time with this. What were your overall thoughts on the end of Oak Street?
This is one of those movies where I don't know if this is a genre per se, but I like movies that I would describe as kind of like cereal box movies, or it basically what's on the packaging is what you get in the actual movie, right? Sometimes I think we're marketed, both as critics and audiences, we're marketed a certain thing in a way to sort of play hide and go seek with the reveal. Spider-Man Brand New Day did a lot of that, for example. But then a lot of times there are movies where it's just this is a ball straight down the middle of the pitch here, and this is a movie about a family that has to deal with being around a bunch of dinosaurs. And I think the movie really spends a lot of time, I think, sort of exploring what that would look like, to like shocking effect in some sequences. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. One of the things I was really surprised about is how like violent this movie was, while still having this kind of very Spielberg Amblin-esque feel to it, which is where I think JJ comes in handy as far as being able to put that touch on it as like a producer element. But this is very much comes from the mind, I think, of David Robert Mitchell, and the pardon me. The thing that really kind of unlocked the movie for me is at the very end of it, there's a title card where he has dedicated the film to his late father, who passed away in 2024, I believe. And it feels like a movie that he and his dad would have watched together as DRM was growing up as a kid. Basically,
Yeah.
it does feel like those old Amblin movies, or even present day Amblin movies. And I thought it was just it's a very again a very simple idea executed quite well.
Yeah, you know, the movie that first came to my mind was another Abrams film, Super 8.
It's a great comp.
It reminded me of that, you know, monsters, secrets, family stuff, kids rushing around and big adventures. Can be scary at times, but also very
Mm-hmm.
lighthearted. And it's very tough to like, the thing that Amblin could do well was like juggling those things
Mm-hmm.
and finding the right balance. And this movie, I think for the most part, finds the right balance. Like there's, like you said, it's very violent. I think these are some of the most terrifying dinosaurs we've seen in a movie in ages.
Yeah,
And then, but you could also have really lighthearted stuff that happens in between, like a photograph scene that I won't talk about any more than that. There's stuff like that that can happen in there, and you think, you know, this seems like it shouldn't work right now, but it does because it happens in a time of such, you know, dire consequences and stress that you have this moment of levity, and that's exactly why it works.
yeah, I was really surprised by I think how funny it was. The
Yeah.
scene that you mentioned I think is one of the biggest laugh lines in the movie that comes right around kind of the halfway point or towards the end of the second or first part of the third. But it's yeah, it's pretty well. It's I think it's extraordinarily well directed. I think one of the things that I definitely want to get your opinion on is the way in which Mitchell kind of uses that suburban landscape, I think, to play with expectations of like size and scale of the dinosaurs once they start to show up. I think, you know, you and I watch a lot of movies where it seems like more often than not, people are afraid to, or have maybe been encouraged otherwise to never do a wide shot, right? And so much of this, there are frames that are where the dinosaurs are kind of like lingering at the very, very corner or the edge of a frame in the same way that like a horror like Michael Myers might exactly.
Yeah.
And also too, like I've seen this trend of kind of we're just going to square everything in the center for people who are watching it on their phones, and there is this is kind of like a low bar to clear, but but the way in which I think Mitchell arranges all of these things through the framing of how he does it, I think gives it a real flair. But then also he's always contextualizing how these things show up through that suburban lens. So there's a shot where, and this is on the poster, so I don't think it's a huge surprise, but the family is being chased by a T-Rex, and they shoot. Mitchell has a shot where he shoots the T-Rex, kind of chasing the family, but he shoots it from the interior of a house, as if you were sitting there washing dishes and you happen to look up and see this thing walk by. And so a lot of the movie has that visual flair where it's like we're going to take this truly, truly suburban neighborhood and kind of infuse this prehistoric element to it, but we're not just doing that for the sake of doing it. Like we actually, that trickles down to everything. And that level of like thought and consideration into all of that, I think is just, it elevates it above a little bit of its just traditional genre fare.
There's a lot of scenes where he's playing around with perspectives, like even some like some of the dramatic scenes. There's a lot of scenes of like the parent in the foreground and the kid kind of behind them in the background.
The split diopter shots he uses a ton for those in particular.
He does a lot of that, and you were talking about some of the shots of like dinosaurs like in the background. It reminded me of like those shots of like Jurassic Park, where the people were sort of like admiring and like gawking at the dinosaurs and like
Spielberg face of awe.
Yeah, exactly. But one of the things I like about this movie is that there's no like romanticizing the dinosaurs in this. That's one of the things I like appreciate about it is that there's none of that, because if this was actually happening to you, you wouldn't be doing that. You would be like, hey, get the hell out of here. And not like, ooh, wow, look at that one. I've been wondering about that one. I've been wanting to see that one for so long. And it's like, hey, the hell, get away from here. I appreciated that so much about this movie.
They do the one moment which I think we've talked about, that is that kind of laugh line. That's really the only time that I think they allow for that awe and spectacle of the actual beasts themselves. But otherwise, it is very much a we're going to sort of unspin this to its logical conclusion of like if you were a suburban father or suburban mother, suburban family who was in no way, shape, or form equipped to fight a dinosaur. Like, this is what would actually happen.
Yeah.
To the point where some of the kills in the movie, there's one in particular that comes at the start of the third act where
Oh yeah.
I don't. So for context, like I don't know how you feel about these things, Travis, but the screening we went to was a filled crowd. Even within that, though, I think sometimes we as critics have a tendency to be a little bit more restrained in our reactions, as it's sort of a, like, we see a lot of these things. We're not very surprised by a lot of things that happen in movies very often. That thing that happens in the third act, which I don't want to spoil because it's such a cool reveal, our colleague Julian and I turned to one another and we're like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe, like, the violence of how that moment is played, the shock and awe in which, not wonder, but, like, again, terror almost that comes with that moment.
The lack of
is
like
great.
theatrics around it too. It's just kind of like boom, and then it happened. And you're just kind of like left to just kind of like look and be like, did that really just happen?
Yeah.
My fiance and I were like gasped at that moment. And then
Julie and I had a similar reaction.
Yeah, and then I'll be honest, and then I thought, I don't like the way this was handled just now because it makes me think something else is going to happen. And then something did happen, and that thing did happen like not long after. Sure. So I was like, okay. But still, for that moment, I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. Yeah. And I think the entire audience we were watching with felt the same way.
There was quite a reaction to that. That was, and I think that's the other thing that's great about this is a really fun movie to see in a theater with a big audience. I don't want to go so far as to compare the two, because I think they're operating in very different registers, but I had the same amount of fun watching this in a theater with a crowd as I did watching Sinners with a crowd for the first time. Like, there's so many like fun reveals where you could feel the audience, I think, getting really invested and excited in it. And I think that can be the last time I remember having that much of like a fun theater actual experience, because we see a lot of these things pretty early, was a movie like Sinners. So very apples to oranges here in terms of our comps. I think Sinners is a much better movie, although I really, really liked End of Oak Street, and the longer I've sat with it, the more I've enjoyed it. But it's cool to see this with a hot crowd, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, and movies like this benefit, like did I have an amazing time watching like Spider-Man Brand New Day in a theater? Absolutely. With a packed crowd. Absolutely. But at the same time, it's like, there's something about a movie that nobody knows what it is going in. Like, nobody nobody expects this to be like some big blockbuster that everybody knows something about walking into the movie. And you're just kind of like, so everybody's like feeling this thing for the first time, like as they're experiencing it. It helps to have it, for it to be a movie like this. Like, I had a blast watching this. And I can't wait to watch it again with friends who also don't know anything about what they're walking into.
Yeah, all I knew is that it was David Robert Mitchell, Anne Hathaway's in it, who's having an incredible year, and that it was about dinosaurs in 1982, basically, is kind of what I knew. And that was pretty much it. And I think that's all you really need to know about it, because of how the mystery kind of unfurls and how surprising and fun and exciting it is to watch it play out.
It really is a good year for Anne Hathaway, other than Mother Mary. Which is, I'm
a little higher on that than I think you are, but I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. There's a lot of I don't want to say nonsense because it all works for me, but I can understand if that movie doesn't play well for everyone.
Just in terms of like sheer performance, it didn't do very well. But she's had a great year, and she's got more on the way. Verity coming up. Which my lady friends will not shut up about. If I don't bring them to the screening, they'll probably hang me or something. So apparently that one's going to be big too, it seems like.
I mean, those Colleen Hoover, these Colleen Hoover adaptations have done really, really well, and this seems to be one of the more, I think, prestigious, just based upon who's involved. But I actually went through and read the plot summary for that book the other day, just because there was a new trailer that came out earlier this week.
Yep.
And it's wild. I'm very curious to see how that's adapted accordingly. But another one where it's just like, I'm really here for the cast of that movie, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, me too. And I've always been a big fan of Anne Hathaway, but I think she's really good in this as like, kind of the mother bear, the protective one, and but she's also going through her own stuff. She has bigger aspirations, bigger dreams, but she's also acknowledging the issues going on with her family at the same time. She's got a lot cooking going on in here while she's trying to not get turned into dino food.
Yeah. I think that's my biggest critique of the film is I think especially there's some kind of timey-wimey, to quote Doctor Who, shenanigans that happen at the end that it's kind of just one of those things where it's like, if you think about this a little too hard, it maybe breaks the movie in a way that's like not fun. But I do think the kids in particular, I think, are really more archetypal than anything else. And so I think it's a little harder to invest in them, although Mitchell does try to give them a little bit of flourish here and there to kind of try and shade them in past those archetypes.
They introduce the character a little bit, not introduce, but they expand the character's importance to the movie and kind of introduce some other themes a little bit, at least tease something that could be a theme in this. But it's not really something that's crucial to the story or anything.
No, and even then, I think to your point, it really just kind of gestures at that without really giving it any sort of context. And I do think Hathaway and McGregor fare a little bit better, but even then, their stuff is like, I would say the source material is very archetypal, and it's really Hathaway and McGregor who I think are elevating the material that's on the page. But I think that's the reason why you go and get two actors of their caliber, is because it's like, this is a genre movie. I mean, this is a dinosaur movie, and we kind of need you to just take it a step above. In the same way that I think there's a little bit more there in Jurassic Park, for example. But like, that's why you're bringing in Goldblum and the late great Sam Neill and Laura Dern, is because you want to take the material that's already pretty decent on the page and really push it a step past. But how did this rank for you as far as like dinosaur movies go? I mean, I don't think there's like I don't think it's like crazy to say that this is the best dinosaur movie since the OG Jurassic Park, but I'm curious where this may stand for you.
That's kind of the way I'm feeling about it right now. I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but they were like, this. I think it was my friend Karen out on the West Coast. She was saying Jurassic Park 2 wasn't that bad, and I was like, it's not that great either. But in terms of just dinosaurs as terrifying creatures that this was the best one since the original. Like, it actually felt like a horror movie at times, which is fantastic for me. And I think a lot of the other dinosaur movies that we've seen, most of them Jurassic movies, especially the world movies, they're not really scary. They're just kind of action thrillers, but they're not scary. There's a lot of people with guns running around shooting at dinosaurs and stuff. It's not scary. This one's actually scary, so I really appreciate that. So yeah, this is probably the best use of dinosaurs in a movie in a very long time. So, and I hope we get more of it, because I think dinosaurs are really cool as monsters to be afraid of. So yeah, I think it worked for me.
Yeah, I think it's, to your point, like there's such a rich text. Like, movies are one of the few places where I think you can render these creatures with the appropriate scale that they need. And I think when done correctly, it could be really, really exciting, as it was here. The Jurassic World movies are so hit or miss. I think there are set pieces in each one of them that I admire more than the movies themselves. I do think Dominion, that was the last one last year with like Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala, and
is that what that one was? I don't even remember anymore.
I think so. There's a very funny running joke on the Big Picture podcast where like Chris Ryan can never remember the plots of all of the Chris Pratt related ones and kind of ties them all together, and they all run together. They're not very unique, but like you can think of the original Jurassic Park
in it, I think, and he was like rolling down a hill in a ball once, I think, or something.
I think that's the second one, but even then, it's like, if you told me that was in the third or the first, I'd be like, yeah, that totally makes sense.
I couldn't tell you why he was doing it.
No, neither could I. So I think this is a good example of like, hey, we have this thing, we have these creatures, and if done correctly, they can be really fun cinematically to look at. So hopefully we get more, but more than anything else, I'm glad. Mitchell's kind of out. It felt like he was in director's jail for a little bit there. Like, the movie he's doing after this is I think it's called They Follow, which is a direct follow up to It Follows, which is cool. I love that movie. That movie really kind of got me started into my journey of really exploring horror a little bit more. For a long time, I was like really scared of watching scary movies for obvious reasons. So he's a super gifted filmmaker, and hopefully this does well financially to kind of let him do some more of these things after Under the Silver Lake kind of didn't really work financially.
I think he got stigmatized as a one-hit wonder pretty quick, just because his sophomore effort wasn't critically acclaimed and didn't really do anything. kind of became the punchline actually. So I mean, so I think it really did hurt him. And I think this movie, at least so far, it's proving that he can do a lot more things because this doesn't really fall into the same genre as either of the things he's done before. This shows that he can do bigger things and different kinds of things. I'm curious to see what he'll do after They Follow, and hopefully it's something brand new. You know, something that's uniquely from him again, so that we can see what else he can do. I would hire him to do a Dinobots movie after this, but that's because I want to see a Dinobots movie, and this guy can obviously do dinosaurs, so let's do one. But yeah, I'm starting to fall into the David R. Mitchell camp now. You know, so that's good. I'm happy about that. I like seeing filmmakers kind of start and then expand and grow along the way, and he seems like one who's going to be sticking around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. William, this has been fantastic, my friend. You got anything coming up? I know you told me about something coming up before we started the show. You want to tell people about that before we get out of here?
Sure. Yeah. When does this air? Is this going up today, tomorrow?
It'll be up today.
Okay. I will have a fun chat after the premiere of HBO's Lanterns series on this Sunday with creator and co-executive producer Tom King about kind of the first episode and how it came to be, and so you can look for that on GQ. And then outside of that, I'm in a little bit of a break. I'm about to go on vacation, so not any immediate other things in the pipeline. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. This was an absolute delight.
I'm excited to see more from Tom King as a filmmaker as well, because he's one of the best writers that DC Comics has had in ages. And he's also got this Mr. Miracle animated series coming up for DC Studios I'm looking forward to. He was going to do that New Gods movie with Ava DuVernay until that got canned. But Mr. Miracle is a new god, so this is kind of his way of still getting around to it anyway, which I think is kind of cool. So yeah. But anyway, William, thank you for joining me on Cinema Royale, my friend. I hope definitely I'll have you back on again soon. This was a lot of fun. So
anytime,
man.
All right, absolutely. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hopson. You can find me at punchdrunkcritics.com. Of course, the Cinema Royale podcast. And if you're in the DC area, you can find me on Channel 7 every Friday at 12:45. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.